welcome back. Today I wanted to review this saber, which may look starkly familiar to anybody who's been following my videos for a while. The reason being, in past, I have reviewed this saber, which looks very, very similar. So this is the Black Series Supreme Leader Kylo Saber. This is the Disney Parks Saber. So this one's a little bit less expensive, but has a lot fewer features. In my mind, though, it's a better way to go if you're looking for a Kylo saber. So let me talk a little bit about this one, how it differs from this one. First off, you'll notice that the paint job is a little bit darker. So the Supreme Leader Kylo is this sort of gray. It's very rainbow on the ends. This one, the rainbow is a little bit more subtle, less pronounced, and the overall paint job is much darker. The weathering is also a lot better. If you notice on this one, see right there, that basically just looks like somebody went after this with a paint pen. Okay, this one, the weathering looks a little bit more like beaten or weathered metal, which is nice. One of the things where it also stands up a little bit better, the internal bits right here are a little bit darker, so the weathering looks a little bit better down in there as well. So overall, the Disney Park paint job is nicer. It's also more authentic in terms of the clip. The Supreme Leader had this solid clip, like this. Now I've made a belt clip for this out of a slide lock for a door, or a slide chain lock, and that was fairly easy. This one has something more like what you're going to see in the movie. And this bit right here actually does flex in. It comes with a saber clip that's designed to hold it. The only thing about the saber clip is it's very difficult to get on there. I imagine some of this might work itself out with time, but the saber clip doesn't really, unless you really force it in, and then you really got to fight to get it out of there, the saber clip doesn't really go all the way down on this. It gets hung up right there and doesn't flex this thing in very well. So I'd be worried if you forced it all the way in that it was going to break as often as it was actually going to go in. But the actual clip kind of looks like the one that that you see in the movie. It's not quite authentic, but if you're doing a cosplay and you've got the authentic clip, you can clip this one on the belt if you need to, just for good measure when you're carrying the saber on your belt, and then take it off when you're not. So darker paint job, better weathering, comes with a clip, which is nice. In terms of the features, this thing doesn't have any, really. If you turn this thing on, it's got delayed ignition, so the front blade lights up and then the side blades. Motion sensitivity is really poor. Clash, you can sometimes get to work, but when you compare to things on the in the lightsaber market, this really doesn't stand up in terms of sensitivity. This one still had some big problems with motion sensitivity, but it did have things like a better flash on clash, blade lockup, tip drag, that sort of stuff. This one just flashes white on clashes sometimes. That said, the activation button on this is a lot better. This one, it was one of these things. Which one? This one. There we go. It was one of these things. And that is super easy to accidentally turn on and off while you're handling it, especially in gloves. The park version, it's this whole housing right here around the button. In the other one, this is the auxiliary button. But this whole housing goes up and goes down. This is easier to find, especially with gloves on, and harder to do accidentally. All right, the blades themselves, the nice thing about this one, the other one had a specific blade. You could swap the blade between some of the Black Series things as long as the blade was capable of red, but it needed a red blade. Okay, this one, this is a Galaxy's Edge blade. So this is the same blade that you get with a Savvy Saber or any of the Legacy Sabers. All the colors are in here. The Saber's only going to let it use red, but all the colors are in here. So the fact that it can use the blades from the other Sabers is kind of handy. The side blades are their own creature, though. As with the others, they push and twist, and then you can pull it out. That's the connection on the side blade. That's what it looked like in the Supreme Leader Black Series. The good news is that the blades are a little bit sturdier, whereas in the Black Series, this part came on top and it kind of rattles in there. This one, everything is stuck inside the blade. That also does mean, though, that these are narrower and longer. So they've got a higher profile, they've got a narrower profile, but blade sleeves that you get for this will not fit on this. Right. It comes with blade plugs as well for when you're carrying it on the belt. But again, the blade plugs on the Supreme Leader have these little crystals in them. The blade plugs on the Disney Park do not. But again, minor detail. I think there's a little bit more bells and whistles, but by and large, I think the Parks version looks better. And in terms of the features, that's not such a big deal for me, especially if you're putting blade sleeves on this, or if you're painting the blades red, which some people do as well. All you really need it to do is light up. If you're out and about in costume or something like that, people are going to hear it a little bit, but the specifics of how accurate the motion sensitivity is and all of that stuff, it's not really going to get noticed because this isn't a particularly loud saber. Neither of them are. Your chance to be able to use the tip drag and stuff like that is going to be minimal at best. All you really needed to do is to power on, and this thing certainly does that. So by and large, what I would say is this is the better saber for costuming, for carrying around, and for use if you want to try to do that. This is not a particularly usable saber design. It never has been. But if you're going to try to use it, if you're going to carry it around, this is the preferred model. If it's going to sit on a shelf and you want to be able to pick it up every so often and say, look at what this thing can do, this one has more features and is a better collectible because of some of the details like the blade plug. This is a better working saber. One more thing about this is, like with the Legacy Sabers, this one has its saber case, which is very cool. All right, the saber comes in here, the blades are in the bottom. The ability of this thing to store this in the case and have it look like a Force relic, I think that might actually even bring it up to on par with the Black Series in terms of a display saber. The Black Series had this neat little metal stand here, but both of them are pretty good. I would suggest this one for actual use or costuming. All right, so here it is, the Disney Parks Kylo Ren Legacy Saber. All right, hopefully this has been of use. Join me back next time. I'll see you then.